Welcome back to the Dota 2 Champions League Season 5 LAN Finals live here from our Joint Dota studio in Berlin, Germany. We are now joined on the desk by Honey, Blitz, as well as Toby Wan. The grand final is about to happen. It's going to be something everyone predicted. Empire going up against VG Gaming. But mind you, if you missed out on the games yesterday, VG Gaming actually lost against Empire and was forced to fight their way back up through the lower bracket, where they just won against Burden United in a pretty convincing 2-0 manner. Now, guys, I mean, yesterday everyone was like, yeah, you know, like VG definitely clearly the favorite. But after what we saw from Empire yesterday, is that still that clear?
I think that Empire, especially with the one-game advantage, I think I would still favor Vici, but after yesterday's games, I think it's a lot closer than most people would consider. I think for sure Vici can't draft as greedy as they did against Empire, because I think against most teams that they play against here, they'll simply say, we're the better team. No matter what happens, like whatever we pick, we'll outskill you. But I think Empire is probably the closest team in terms of skill to them here.
Yeah, I mean, going into the skill point, right, you also have the experience part, where you have Burden United, it was their first LAN event, and then you have NIP, which struggles to perform in the current patch. And I agree with you that I think it's going to be, most people expect it to be a bit closer, right, in terms of performance, but overall I think that VG Gaming is still for sure the one to beat, and I think Empire going into this game, they will know that as well. That yes, they got away yesterday with going into the final straight away, but it's not going to be easy at all to come out here victorious.
Yeah, but it will give them the confidence at least coming into this game. Empire, you were able to take the full series of VG Gaming. Definitely take this one every bit serious as you can, because VG Gaming is going to know, well, okay, yeah, we lost the series, but we'll come back. Like I was sitting in there before talking to Ice, and they're very passive about it. They're not really fired up for the game, but they're just like, you know, we'll do our best, and we're pretty sure that's going to be good enough. So they're just going to roll through the motion. So it's up to Team Empire to kind of upset VG Gaming and shut them down as much as possible.
So how do you think are they gonna upset VG Gaming? Because yesterday, I mean, in terms of picking bans, I don't know. We discussed it already. VG, they have such an immense hero pool, so they have a lot to choose from, which makes it very hard to like even ban out stuff, because they still have such a big variety of other heroes which work for them. We've seen them banning Undying yesterday. Cop has been banned against them after the first game, despite Empire winning it. They had to ban out a line in the second game because the line really worked well for VG. What kind of bans do we expect from Empire this time around?
I'm not entirely sure what bans are going to come, because I feel like bans are always like, you know, like it's kind of hard to determine, because you go into two first bans, and you obviously you want to try to aim for something that you know the other team is comfortable with. I guess Gyrocopter could be one of those bans for VG Gaming, I guess, but at the same time you also see Gyrocopter being picked by VG Gaming, so you know, it really goes with who starts the ban, and then how can you follow up on that, and how are the first two picks going to come up in what you're going to choose to ban. I feel like in terms of picks, I would assume that VG Gaming might go back to what they're very comfortable with. I wouldn't be too surprised seeing a Sand King, Skywrath, potentially something like that. They played a lot around Lion as well, so we'll see about that.
I actually love the fact you bring up like the Sand King and Skywrath. When I was out there talking to Cap during the last series, I'm just like, you know, I'm loving the way VG Gaming their supports are playing today, but also the Empire supports really, for me, like Aloha Dance has been an absolutely spectacular sight to watch yesterday. I really want to see how both of those support combos are going to work today.
Yeah, I think that if you're VG Gaming, don't give Empire Wisp again. Like that was a terrible experiment. It didn't work. Don't give them Wisp again. If it means that they get a Queen of Pain, or I think that you have to ban Gyro against a team like Empire. Like Silent runs the hero really well. They play around the hero really well, and it's a comfort hero for him, right? Especially in this patch. And I think Connie especially would know about that concept of comfort heroes. It's like, if you have a hero that you like playing, that you're comfortable with, you'll take that even over a hero that might be a little bit better in the patch, for example. But Gyrocopter has the dual function of being a comfort hero for Silent, and it just happens to be amazing in this patch right now.
So in the pre-game show, we actually discussed the patch and the patch notes. I'm pretty sure you're aware of them as well. Did you guys feel that any of the games we saw today really affected it? Because we still saw those Undying pickups and also the Undying bans. Like, people still kind of acted the same way as yesterday. So right now it doesn't feel like it really changed that much in terms of picks.
I would have been surprised if the teams would modify their roster over the course of one night. Like, you make some changes, but I don't think enough of it was critical enough that you pull the hero out, unless it was, like, directly affecting your lane. Like, I know we talked about, like, Ice with that Undying off lane, and how he would manipulate Soul Rip in the very early stages. And with the higher mana cost, maybe that's not possible anymore. The support Gyrocopter was the other question mark, but we saw the lowering in intelligence didn't affect his performance at all. So, yeah, I don't think anything's really directly affected the way these teams play here.
I think the only like potentially effective patch change that has happened is the fact that there was Gyrocopter and Visage being both played, whereas you have the Flak Cannon that kills familiars faster now, and that's one of the things that you could, you know, like assume, okay, this influences, because it's effectively it's 25% of the hero's HP that were taken away.
I think I agree with both guys here, is that when you're playing at LAN, you don't want to change anything too drastically, even if there was like a patch in the middle, unless it was like something insane, like Juggernaut got Quelling Blade to work on Roshan again, then I think that you'll make adjustments. But I think you play what you're comfortable with, and you kind of, there's like, I think it was Honey that said, there's like a meta associated with LANs, like that develops, that teams kind of run themselves based on who they're playing with and stuff like that. And so I think don't change anything. If you're Empire or Vici, just keep going with what you're strong. If you're Vici, maybe pick a little bit less greedy, and that's the only thing I would alter.
Do you feel in general that either of those teams have problems on lands, as we said with Burden United? You know, like when you're already behind, like maybe they go for like really crazy things. Does either of those two teams do that kind of stuff?
I mean, I think to me both of the teams are too experienced to tilt at the very start. Maybe if it comes to a game 5 and, you know, like odds are there that both teams are, you know, like going to win either or, sure you can tilt, but at the very start of the game or of this series, I don't think either team will experience that.
Yeah, I think that in terms of experience, these guys have been playing Dota 1 since forever. Like, if there's a comfortable environment for them, it's in front of a computer, just playing a game that they've been playing probably for the last like 6+ years for most of these guys. Like, I think LANs only really start to affect your nerves when you've never met your teammates, and you know, there are a lot of people that have a lot riding on you. For example, for things like TI, I think there are, for every team, even like the most experienced players, of course there's going to be butterflies, but I think for LANs like this, no, teams should be fine. They should be prepared.
Well, the final is about to start as we're heading into the draft of the D2CL Season 5 Grand Finals here in Berlin. So guys, take it away.
Yeah, let's get to it, Blitz. Team Empire, they do have that one game advantage coming out of the winners bracket, so they're coming in with a little bit of a buffer up against VG Gaming, but VG Gaming still a very clear favorite coming into this match.
Oh, for sure. I think the odds were something like 55% to Vici and 45% to Empire on Dota 2 Lounge, even with the one game advantage that Empire has, and I think that's pretty accurate. I think that Vici Gaming, like Hani said, they're still the team to beat.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can be beaten today as we get through our first part of the draft. Just want to give a big shout out for, because I know I'm probably not going to have time to do this at the end of the day, but big thanks to everyone who has been tuning in. You've been absolutely wonderful, and thanks for being so positive with our first LAN in the JD offices. So big shout out to everyone who has been supporting us throughout the weekend. We have our answer. No Whisper is banned by VG Gaming, and the Queen of Pain will be banned by Team Empire, so you don't get both of those heroes through the first stage.
I think those picks and those bans so far are fine. Right now for Empire, what they have to decide is if they still value the Gyrocopter this highly, and if this is kind of like a bait pick by Vici Gaming, but I still think they'll take it, and they immediately grab it. Like, there's probably some discussion like, hey, is this some kind of trick? Like, why did they give us Gyro? But in response, they take the line in the SF.
VG Gaming, okay. So, you know Team Empire are going to take Gyrocopter. You're right. Maybe it's a bait. Maybe VG Gaming, they're prepared for this. They're fine with the first pickup Gyro. They feel they can deal with it. So you grab your Shadow Fiend, you grab your Lion. Really great lane presence. You've got, obviously, your second ability just to jump back and farm with the SF, flash farming with the SF. The Lion's been a tried and tested support hero. In fact, I still think it's the most popular support hero in China. So why pass it up?
Yeah. Something I actually really wanted to bring up is that I was talking to a few of the players, and they felt like Vici Gaming were here essentially to play scrims. Like, they felt that Vici, they didn't really ban the heroes that the teams played. They just kind of banned whatever they wanted and said, okay, we're just going to play our style and see what happens off of that. Because right now, I think these guys especially, their main goal is TI. So if you're playing against a team like Empire, and you know they're going to take the Gyro the Whisk every time, if you're going to ban one, instead of just banning it out, why not just play against it and see what strategies you can use and develop that'll get your way around it?
Well, they don't have many opportunities like this. Like VG Gaming, they play down in China, so unless a team from the West comes down to China to play against them, like all they kind of had like is DAC for that and a couple of other tournaments which aren't as big, but that's it. So yeah, you're right. It's a great opportunity for VG Gaming to get a lot of experience up against the Western teams. Team Empire, still a TI invited team, and you play up against the little bit more randomness, so maybe what you don't expect as much from Burden United as well as NIP. But Team Empire are going to push him here, and yeah, it's just good experience at the end of the day. You're right.
Yeah, I think either of these teams are pretty happy with the position that they're in. I think this game actually matters more for Empire. I think if Vici Gaming loses this tournament, they're going to walk away and they'll say, okay, that's fine. Like, we learned a lot from this tournament series.
We'll move on to the summit.
Exactly.
We'll look towards the international in 2 months' time.
Yeah, it's for them, everything is just a built-up, I feel, for TI. Because last year's squad of DK, remember the disappointment that Ice felt. Like, they won the tournaments beforehand, but they didn't win the one that mattered. And so I think that for them, especially for Vici Gaming, this is kind of their preemptive, like, okay, let's test things. Let's just play around with the patch. Let's see who runs what, and just get a good feel for things. I'm not saying, like, Vici, obviously, like, they banned the Beastmaster and the Wisp. Like, they're still learning, but I think as a whole, like, they're still treating this less like a TI finals and more like, let's try to gain as much as possible from this match as we can.
Yep. At the same time, winning is a great gain. So at this point, they go into the next stage of the banning. So Axe will be removed. The Broodmother's also been taken out by Team Empire and the Tidehunter. So Ice being fairly heavily banned against here in the second phase. Well, you take out the Axe, you take out the ability for Team Empire to run these easy dual lanes that we've seen them do and get such a big advantage in the laning phase early on.
Yeah, I think after yesterday especially, Vici doesn't want to play against the Axe. Like, that hero ruined them. And I think Empire plan on running this as an offlane Earthshaker, hence the Tidehunter ban, because you don't want to be put in a position where Vici actually decide to aggro tri-lane, and now you've got an Earthshaker 1v1 against a Tidehunter.
So if this isn't Earthshaker offlane, should VG Gaming just look to say, well, okay, the Earthshaker's not going to find any kills, he won't add as much pressure, he's going to find some levels, but maybe Lion can try and keep him out of the lane there, and you pick up something like an Enigma or a Chen to move into the jungle and get a large amount of farm. Is that a better option to go here, or should you try and push the Earthshaker out of the lane?
I think
and be more active there.
If I'm Vici Gaming, and obviously I'm not, otherwise I'd be playing in this game, but if I'm Vici Gaming, like, I'm gonna not make the same mistake I did last game, like the last series I did against Empire, which is I picked so greedy, right? It was like we picked Enigma, we picked just greedy supports in general that couldn't really phase the offlaner out. I think you have to make it a point to just not let Yoki snowball, because Yoki getting big every single game was such a huge factor in the last series. I think that you have to pick either a carry that can zone out with the Lion against the Earthshaker, or you just pick something like a dual support combination.
Okay. Well, VG Gaming have to make a decision sometime soon. As you said before, that they won't have that Tide as the option to just directly battle against them. And with the Lina being taken out, looks like VG Gaming starting to wonder about Team Empire's just overall lane presence. If that is a core Earthshaker and a core Gyrocopter, then adding a Lina into the mix, it's just good roaming, ganking kind of potential. And even if you don't get a quick progression on the Earthshaker, the Lina can fill in a lot of space for you in that early game.
Yeah, and I want to kind of see if either of these teams decide to take Tuskar again, because I know that both teams, like, statistically run that hero really well. We saw Ice play yesterday, and although they lost the game, he was able to just ruin lives. And this game, I think it's the clockwork for Vici Gaming.
This almost, I was having a bit of a chinwag with Ice. It wasn't too much because he seemed very tired as well. But he's just like, the offlane is just a horrible thing now, because like the Undying, he doesn't feel like he can play it anymore. And he's like, well, why does Valve keep nerfing everything? Why can't they buff something like a Timbersaw that he could play on the offlane? Yeah. Or something along these lines. And the end joke was, well, you've always got Clockwork to go back to. There's not much more that he feels very comfortable in the offlane, so the Clockwork's going to be it. I say comfortable, like I'm saying it like he's only got 3 heroes. But what he wants to play in this current patch, at least.
Oh, for sure. And it's a good hero against both the Earthshaker and the Gyrocopter. You isolate them out, get something like a Force Staff or a Blade Mail early, especially against a Gyrocopter, and he's not able to do anything but...
You can't pull out of that Rocket Barrage.
Yeah, exactly. And so for Vici Gaming, I like this. I think Clockwork is a good hero here. You give Ice some outplay potential, but in general, looking at the stats, I mean, he doesn't take a lot of their team's farm. Like, if you look at the gold percentage as a team total, Ice only takes up roughly 18%, whereas FY actually takes up like nearly 17%. Compare that to Aloha Dance, who's playing the 4 position role at just 14%. You're kind of seeing where like their priorities lie. Like for Vici Gaming, it's to get FY farmed so that they can play kind of like a 4 core role almost, whereas Ice is just there to make as much of a presence and nuisance as possible.
Yeah, and really, Ice doesn't need to take the farm from me. He just wants the experience. So if, as a Clockwork, if he gets a little bit, yeah, it's going to be great for him. Hello, Visage. He will be added in here. I know they're trying to force a Draw Ranger ban as their last one, because it seems like a very weird thing to pick up a Visage. But yeah, you're right about Lion, because they normally want FY, FY, to have something like a Blink Dagger on the line, so they become, like, they have a second initiator, someone that can keep up with their offlaner or buy space for Ice to create even more space.
Yeah.
Then their cores can just go to work. Yeah, this Visage pickup is an interesting one on the Force selection.
I think they just want something that they can fight with early on and not get their jungle invaded like Empire have done every single game. Empire, though, have had a heavy focus so far on getting the best lanes possible, picking up a Viper, a Gyrocopter, and an Earthshaker. Those are all lane-winning heroes. And so for Vici Gaming, I think that it's not 100% necessary for you to take a hero like Dro. Maybe you're just trying to get Empire to ban it out, because if you have a Dro, your lineup would be really squishy.
It feels like bait. Like, as you said, like just to get Empire to ban it, to blow one ban, which means you're 100% get the hero you want to have, to combine with this.
Yeah. And so, one pick left on each team. Vici Gaming, if they're seeing this, I mean, they've seen Yoki play the offlane Earthshaker so many times. Maybe they assume this is an offlane Earthshaker and they ban out something like, I don't know, Venge is okay to ban, I feel. Okay, so Enchantress is actually going to be the ban out for them.
They might have been wondering about the push with Empire. I would have looked for a combo stunner with the Rubik. Like, Lena's already been removed. You could have actually had the Lashrak combine up here for Team Empire. Give you a much-needed tower push.
Yeah, and so the Dro is banned out by Vici, or by Empire, and so let's see what Vici go. They do need a one-position player. I don't know.
FY had to know that Dro would be banned. It's so obvious that it'll be banned out if you pick up the Visage in this position, but it would have been the same thing if you picked up the Dro, then the Visage would have been banned out. So you would never have received the combination by picking up the Clockwork this early.
Yeah, exactly. And Vici Gaming have to know that as well. Like, they had to have... They would probably be pretty happy if they could have gotten the Dro, obviously, just because of that combination of heroes is so strong. But I think they're okay with not getting it as well.
Okay. It's going to be a Weaver. He did receive some minor buff-ups during the last patch. I don't know if it's enough to really, like, propel him back into the scene, but I know Admiral Bulldog, like, shout out to him as well for hosting up our channel on Twitch, was playing it this morning and expressing his absolute delight for the hero.
Yeah, I think that the hero is incredibly fun to play. It's one of the ones that, if you don't have absolute hard lockdown, it's difficult. The only thing is that Empire do have a lot of lockdown. Like, they have an Earthshaker, which is one of the better heroes against Weaver. They've got Rubik against a Weaver as well. Like, I think any professional player would tell you, like, that's one of your favorite things to be as Rubik, right? You just, like, invis around and, like, skitter in and out, and you can deal damage, and it's hard to lock you down. So, probably have a pretty decent plan, though. You just have to, like, hex up the Rubik and keep sentries on you at all times.
The only thing I think Empire might... Yeah, actually, yeah. Sentries is one of the primary things. But they just try and find more control. Like, direct control up against the Weaver. If you look at it, you've got Telekinesis, you've got Fissure, and that will add in that extra control. Because the only other thing I was going to have is Homing Missile. And then that's it on your Weaver control. But something like a Disruptor is a perfect selection. You've got the Silence, you've got the Glimpse back, you've got the Wall to control them as well. It's just an all-around great hero. And a great hero which Aloha Dance really worked so hard during their semi-final with.
Yeah. And the typical Weaver build that we see as well that has been around since forever is that the Weaver will get something like a Lincoln Sphere just to be able to block some stuff out. But what would be the point of that in this game? Like, the Disruptor still will lay the ult down on you, the Earthshaker will stun and Totem and Echo Slam you.
Maybe it's one of these BKB Desolator style games for the Weaver instead. I
think that's definitely going to be the call here. I think a BKB is absolutely necessary, but I also think that Weaver is one of the better heroes at dealing with a hero like Gyrocopter, because you don't get slowed during your Shikuchi. Like, you run in, you run out. Like, we saw yesterday when they picked the Life Stealer against the Gyrocopter, it was absolute misery for Hao, because the rocket will still slow you.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually don't see Silent getting his homing missile at all.
It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for this game. And
No.
Instead, just try and focus on getting your damage output and staying alive during the team fights. I don't know if you still bypass the homing missile just to get more stats as well.
Yeah, it's not even like you can really cancel TPs with the ability, because if somebody starts TPing in front of you and then you decide you're going to use a homing missile, like, it's not really gonna. It's gonna take too long to cancel out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's irrelevant. And so Ice picking up a sentry and an observer ward, and again Empire with control of their own jungle, making sure that nothing sneaky is happening and just trying to get information right now.
Yeah. Ice actually didn't get down any kind of aggressive wards because he, as you say, he only just picked them up now. But there is one already down for Team Empire, so they've got this observer ward on the offlane, and they'll allow Yoki to have the vision to make the right plays. He's already got the boots up on the Earthshaker, so FY catching him out of position is not possible anymore because he's walking around with no boots on him, and same for Fenrir. So these supports, they're very much looking just to stack, farm, and primarily prep it for the SF. He can give them all the levels they require. All he's got to wait and do is just sit back when he comes to flash farm and soak up the levels with him. The SF just wants the money and the souls. That's all he needs.
Yeah, and if you're taking a look at these lineups, a lot of Empire heroes hard counter Vichi's heroes. Like, I think Earthshaker's pretty good against Weaver. I think that the Disruptor's good against everybody on Vici Gaming. And Rubik is good against Weaver, but the one thing that Vici have for them is an aggressive lineup. Like, their heroes really run at you. Like, this is meant to be, let's try to take fights in the mid-game type of lineup, I feel.
Kind of a weird cog block place time for Ice. Doing it right in front of his tower while always on a fly was taking damage from one of the melee and the range creeps. So he held the creep wave back a long way, but the creep wave is still very, very standard. There's a defensive tri-lane here from Empire, so Ice just hopes he can get close enough to lead to some level of experience. While on the bottom lane, this is a little bit more difficult for Yoki. And I can't believe I'm actually remembering this build right now, mainly because my brain's had old, but how I'm wondering what type of like build he goes. Like, we've seen Weavers with no boots, but you can also look at the Eternal Envy build, which is to run like phase boots, and you get very, very aggressive against the offlaners.
Yeah, I think that won't be necessary because he has a Visage and a Lion with him.
Yep.
So zoning at the offlaner or something like that won't be an issue for him at all. And Yoki's actually still doing okay though. He's almost picked up his level 2. Ice at top is in a similar position right now, just because he can block the creeps, and it's harder for a Disruptor and a Rubik to be able to zone out a Clockwork than it is for a Visage, a Lion, and a Weaver to zone out the Earthshaker.
Well, for now, it's just a farm war. So, Silent on the top lane. That's that Gyrocopter. He's keeping up with the Weaver. Everything's pretty even Stevens. They're not keeping perfect control of this lane, but at the same time, Ice isn't pushing the issue any further. Like, he's not even walking past this line unless he feels 100% certain that he can do so without dying.
Yeah,
because he's got no vision on the side.
Oh, for sure. He's just, I think last game, or the last series that they played, he played a little bit too over-aggressive, and it seems like this game, there's more of a focus on not giving Silent up, like, for anything. Like, don't die, just try to get as many levels as I can, play it safe, and then look for levels.
Yeah, well, why be over-aggressive when you know your flash farming is... I'm not going to say it's better, because you still got a Gyrocopter over on Empire, but I'm also looking at the jungle of the Dire side, and there's only one stack which is being prepared for him. So it's not that great. At the same time, I can also look at the VG Gaming side. We're only 2.5 minutes in, obviously, but there's no stacks prepared here for Super either.
Yeah, Silent at top. He's taking some harass, but just kind of trying to tank the creeps so they don't get to the tower too quickly, and so he's going to hold it right here. Wait for the creeps to come out so the lane doesn't push out too far. And Yoki at bottom, just continuing to try to survive and get levels. That's all he needs in this game. We've seen him with just a Soul Ring and Trinkle Boots make a lot happen.
But he's coming. I'll say he's coming down for the room, but he's a minute too early. He looked like he's also 2 seconds too late to stack up the Ancients, and he's leaving. He's left the bottom.
I think he realizes that it's the positioning of the lane. He's got a ward there as well. He realizes that he's going to get harassed too hard by Fenrir. And Earthshaker is one of those heroes, Tubby, that can't pressure in the offlane. It's not like an axe. You're just meant to survive in this kind of lane. Yeah,
but the only other option you then got is to do what he's doing, which is look towards the middle lane, and maybe he can get some kind of fissure damage or stun into super, and that'll just buy enough space for resolution to find that kill. Resolution's already up at level 5, so he's got 3 points up in the poison attack. But no Viper Strike just yet.
Yeah, and I think even with the Viper Strike, it'd be a little bit difficult to kill Super because he's just going to bottle crow and do the jungle as soon as he picks up some levels and just spam out raise. Like, if he plays this correctly, Resolution shouldn't really get the kill on him unless he just massively messes up.
At the same time, though, okay, let's talk about the Gyro as well as the Weaver. Let's isolate the two carries. Both have pretty much the same amount of farm. What timings are we looking at from both? Like, we talk about BKB Desolator coming in from Weaver. We'll assume he's going to build that up against a normal Gyro build. Who's coming online first to do something for their team?
I think that the Weaver, it requires a little bit more farm because you're so susceptible to like one stun death. So I think that it's going to be easier for the Gyrocopter to be able to get online, but in mid, this...
I'm loving this with FY and Yoki. Yogi's got the double damage rune, and they're going to glimpse him back down again. Resolution with the slow. They lock him in, but it's a 3-man stun from FY. He does have a Hex of Valve. We're going to throw on Resolution, but this will be the first blood. Spilled by Team Empire. At the same time, Ice is also going to drop as Team Empire catching up the clockwork very deep in.
Yeah, the Lion was just trying to stack, see what was going on, but the catchability is a little bit too high. Resolution is, with the poison attack, slows him down enough, and everybody was prepared for that one. And even though FY pretty much got like a Tide Ravage off, it doesn't matter.
And with the death of Ice, it looked like telekinesis was the primary thing that brought him down. And it's one of the worst things that you've actually got possibly one of the greatest Rubik games out there, because you have a Clockwork whose your telekinesis is perfect because you pick up the Clockwork, you throw him outside of his own cogs, and more than likely in that scenario he was thrown to the far side of his cogs. So he had no choice but to run even deeper into dire territory. And then you got the Weaver with Shikuchi, so he can always reposition. Now middle lane Resolution, a little bit too aggressive over on Super. The stuns are there. He's got one long raise. Actually misses the raise. He went for the short range, and it wasn't in range of Resolution. Well, now always when a Flyer's going to have to cop out that damage. The medium raise not far enough out, and Super ticking down with a poison attack. Yogi's got nothing more to give. I think he's trying to give vision to allow the attack from Resolution to hit on top of Super, but not going to be possible. So, no kills after a bit of an engagement.
Yeah, and so both teams just kind of circle out. Ice came as well, but Yoki was there as well, so it's probably a pretty decent trade for both teams. And Resolution's actually just going to back out of this lane because Super has raises. He does know that the line is sitting behind him at this point. And the Sentry, it's just outside of the Observer Ward range as well. It's so unfortunate right now for Vici Gaming.
If only they knew. Watching also down the bottom lane, Hal running in very, very deep and around the bottom tier 1 tower. He's got this haste rune, and he's used it to get in behind the tower, while you have just Fenrir forcing the lane. Now, to most people, this would just look like, okay, they're giving Fenrir some space, someone's go inside the jungle to find some extra farm, and that's all it's coming down to. But Yoki's feeling like something is wrong. He's moving into the tree line, and then Hal runs through the creep wave, damaging it with Shikuchi.
Yeah, and that top, Ice died again, and he's going to go down again for the second time right here. Both supports are in position, and that's the 3rd time they've killed him now, and meanwhile in mid as well.
Wow. Resolution's going to drop too, but that's the revenge kill for losing the Shadow Fiend. So F1 is going to get some good experience and money from this. But beyond that, your cores are dying all across the map for VG Gaming, apart from Hal. Hal's the only man that hasn't been touched. But he's still not finding anywhere near as much farm as Silent is. Silent's already up at 3.7k in the net worth compared to the 3k of Hal.
And this is the strength of Gyrocopter as a carry. Just the Rocket Barrage does so much damage to melee heroes. It zones out by itself, essentially. And I mean, we I think you missed that kill in the middle, right? Because we were looking at the one at top, and it's just a bloodbath right now. Like, Empire picking up solo kills on heroes. That's not something you typically see from Vici's cores. Like, it's been a while since I've seen Super just get solo killed by somebody. But able to do it. Actually, I think they were, somebody might have been there, but no, it wasn't, because both supports were top and Yoki was bottom. Yeah, that was actually a straight up solo kill.
Oh, wait, yeah, you mean up against the SF?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a 1-on-2, in fact, because Lion was there to get the revenge kill.
Yeah, exactly. And so for this to happen, you're solo mid to lose, essentially straight up just 1v1, and Viper is meant to do that. And Silent having such a good game as he is with 2 kills, supports also have a lot of levels off the bat as a result. I mean, you're just winning this trade.
Overall, though, it's not as much as you'd expect. Like, I know we're only 8 minutes in, but the advantage is still sitting at 1,500, and the experience is swinging up and down. So overall, while it's looking great for Team Empire and the kill count's looking fantastic, it might be easier if FY can get this done to resolution. The Hex to start with. Follow-up stun. Again, Super misplacing these razors. Unable to connect on resolution. Now the fissure to FY. It's going to be a revenge kill. So Lion's dead no matter what here. At least SF will survive, or yeah, Yoki's not going to get there, and he also doesn't have a stun available, so that's not going to help him. But some just uncharacteristic moves coming out from Super.
Yeah, and for him to be able to miss those raises, I think even if he hits those raises, it's a little bit close because resolution does have the stick. And maybe if he was in a slightly better position, yeah, they can get the kill. But they also have to always anticipate the Earthshaker coming in, because this is one of the better heroes at counter-initiating, right?
Yep.
Like you try to go in on a hero, there's no real getting out because the fissure range is so large.
Ice was forced to TP off that top lane again. They actually committed call down for that too. He's still not level 6, so there's still no initiation, but now we try a different tact. Before it was the Visage sitting in the tree lines, but Fenrir now has moved back into the lane, and it's Hal who's moved into the tree line once again. They really just want to find a kill on this off lane, but they can't find it. Like, you've even got Yoki sitting at the back. Do they just have vision of him? Yeah, the Observer Ward's watching him. I'm also seeing Lion moving very aggressively into the jungle. He's going to come behind, and that's actually with a Finger of Death. A guaranteed kill over on the Gyro. While Hao should have just scouted out Aloha Dance and Resolution moving up.
Yeah, and that's like a level and a half, Toby, for that Lion to be able to get that solo kill, and that's on the core. And so this is what Vici need to step back into this game. And Hao, he spotted out, but they don't have vision of him, and he's just kind of skittering in and out. And Aloha Dance is getting quite low, but he does have the level 6.
Yeah, which means that ulti can lock Hao in position. Is there enough damage? Is there a gem attack? That's not enough.
They gotta get the bug.
Get rid of it. 14 HP. He survives.
Oh my.
There's still a Clockwork Rocket at level 2.
There's a regen at bottom as well. All right.
He's got an urn.
Here we
he's
go.
Fine. You've already got an urn of shadows over on the Disruptor, so the Rocket cannot kill him.
Oh, but it was scary. He was probably screaming at his team. He's like, there's a bug on me. That's how I would react if I had spiders on me.
You have fear of arachnids?
Yeah, they're scary. It's small bugs, man.
Never
they do the most
never
damage.
go to Australia.
I would do that just because you're from there, Toby. I'm just kidding, man.
Just kidding, I hate you. So now you commit one of your cores. You actually bring Super all the way up to the top lane to try and attack into a Gyrocopter. So at least you force Gyro out of the lane. That's one nice thing. The downside is, like, look what Super's been forced to build into. We're getting a mech build coming up on the Shadow Fiend just to try and survive. He's the only one for his team getting the money.
Yeah, and they know that Silent is up here, and at top they're trying to make a move, and they should know about this. And oh, Resolution, they found him.
Yep. FY dragged back. Resolution's going to get hexed up for the moment, but the Rocket Barrage is killing off FY. Disruptor will kill Secure with that last basic attack. And meanwhile in the middle lane, Hao and Super, okay, Viper cancelling that TP. Super was winding up with a full Requiem of Souls in the exact position. They're missing the timing on the towers, but it seems to work at the end of the day. So Weaver will get the last hit in the tier 1 tower. Always want to fly, failed the attempted deny. And that's going to give a small advantage to VG Gaming. Yeah, you lost the Lion, sure. But at the same time, you're just taking out a tier 1 tower for much needed money. And Fenrir's got level 6.
Yeah, this is one of the better heroes, Toby, at getting ahead, is the Disruptor. Just because if you're ahead, you want to glimpse people back into you. But if you're behind, this hero almost feels useless because he's so level dependent. But in this type of game, Aloha Dance is going to have such a big impact just because he's hit his level 6 timing at such a reasonable time. And now they're smoked up, just trying to see who they can find. And it looks like the target is going to be Hao here at bottom.
Oh, just after he's gone for Yoki, but there's no time lapse available. He's going Shikuchi further up. The Observer Ward's allowing him to see all this rotation, not to mention the familiars were stalking him the entire way. He's going to walk straight past Resolution. But they're not interested in fighting. Remember, VG Gaming still want to try and fight this into the later game. The Viper, well, he kind of tails off a little bit compared to the SF as well as the Weaver.
Yeah. The Weaver is one of those heroes. Late game, if he's 6-slotted and you're losing the game, it feels so hard to play against. But at top, Ice.
He's still got a hookshot available, so he might try and get himself out of this one, but then Disruptor ulti. Low hard dance. Seriously, this man's timing is unbelievable for the Disruptor. He actually waited that one out, realizing when Ice was in a better position to use an ability.
Yeah, and they're pinging it out right now. It looks like they want to make another go at it. They do have Glimpse available right now, so they have to be a little bit careful as at top.
Yeah, there's your first stun. Silent fingered as well as being soul assumptioned. And Resolution having a hard time getting out of here. They'll deny the tier 1 tower. But Empire, they take it. It is denied. And then you also have the gyro death. They're going to stop this from happening. This is now the second death for the gyrocopter. They're going to start losing all this momentum they've worked so hard to build.
Yeah, and that was, this is like the most I've seen Silent die in quite some time in the early game. And at bottom.
Yeah, they jump on Yoki. Ice is waiting for that. The Echo Send will come out, but this time around Super hitting the raises perfectly with his attack as well. They're able to get that pick off on the Earthshaker.
And that was such a clutch kill as well, because the Earthshaker is getting dangerously close to his Blink Dagger. He's already at 1,500 gold right now. And so that's something that Vici have to pay attention to at all times, because once the Earthshaker has a Blink Dagger, your Weaver is no longer safe. Like, there's just too much lockdown that's going to come in the form of a Fissure and the follow-up Enchant Totem. And so him plus maybe one support could be able to kill the Weaver, who doesn't actually have that much farm right now. He's actually opted to go for an Ultimate Orb.
I'm actually wondering, too, with, you're right, he's going to go for a Linken's build.
Yeah, he could do that. He could go for a Manta as well. But I'm a little bit skeptical about it just because the Disruptor will still wreck him.
Yeah. At the same time, maybe, well, I'd say if you're preparing for an Aghanim Scepter and a Aloha Dance, then something else is wrong with your game. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, we already talked about this during the draft, so we won't ham on about it until we see what house we're really going to be building into. But I'm looking at the SF instead. He's managed to pick up this mech, standard the rest of the items. But where does he go from here? Is this where you look for survivability on Super? You try and build into something like a BKB? Or do you say, okay, I need to have damage. What do I need to really fight up against Empire? The BKB still seems to be the most obvious with Disruptor on the field.
I think the BKB is 100% the choice. Oh, and both supports are smoked up right now. They don't have a core with them, and they're actually headed into the Roche pit.
Yeah, they just leave an Observer Ward behind. There's Aloha Dance always want to fly, which are the two supports you're talking about, which is smoked up. The Observer Ward's scouting out a lot of TPs coming down from Team Empire. And yeah, Vici Gaming. They just pop inside the pit with the Familiars. They've got the control as well as the extra damage required. It's only 1 point up in the presence of the Dark Lord. So it's only -3 armor on Roshan. But it still looks like it's going to be enough to finish the job. Yeah,
they've got the Medallion of Courage up as well. And it doesn't look like Empire actually know that this is going on in the middle. They're making an attempt on Ice. This should mean the kill.
Well, they commit the ult. He's still got 7 1 charges up his sleeve. Gonna throw him out, but the Fidget's also gonna be there. FY couldn't make as much space, but it's so worth it. You've just got Nagus the Immortal on the back of the Shadow Fiend, and you lost no real town position. It's just another death for the Clockwork.
Yeah, but it looks like Empire want to get into this fight, knowing that Ice is dead, but... Oh, they're going to get the glimpse on Super.
That's big. If they can control him long enough, the Familiars are coming back in again. Super, low on life, and there goes Uragus the Immortal. No Requiem in time, and also no protection. The mech's already been used. They lose the Visage too, and now Super. More control. A double stun, but he's down for the count. The Gyrocopter will take the kill with the call down and Flat Cannon. Everything's turned on. And VG Gaming, well, I thought that Aegis might have been a godsend, but they can't lose more. There's not enough control left on the Weaver. But VG Gaming, you lose 4 heroes for the price of an Earthshaker, and you burned your Aegis.
And this is the strength of the Disruptor. They don't have a smoke to get out of that Roche pit. They try to walk out, but you're not going to do that. And it's the positioning that matters more than the Aegis every single time. Is that teams assume, okay, we have an Aegis, they're going to avoid fighting us. But if you can isolate the Shadow Fiend aside from the rest of the team, and Ice is dead, you'll take that fight every single time, regardless of the Aegis. Because without a BKB, you kill him twice and no problem.
You got your Earthshaker timing. I think Yogi's about to try and put it directly to use. How Shikuchiing himself away as quickly as he can. It is a full Linken's. He just picked up the Perseverance from the side shop.
Oh, and Yoki actually guesses wrong, and how? Oh, he actually gets stunned though.
He caught him. He didn't take any damage with the Echo
Slam. He's got this.
Oh my Yoki! He almost brought down Hal. The rocket's flying in too. He's got Blink off cooldown in 1 second time, and now the Disruptor. They'll glimpse him back up. It's actually past the wall. He got stunned up again, so it won't be a full escape with Shikuchi. The Thunderstrike and Urn and Fissure. It all flies in, and they pick up Hal. Man, Empire, they're all over him like a hot rash.
Yeah, and that was actually insane that they were able to find that out. It was a little bit sloppy, and everyone probably was in that mentality of like, go, go! And if you saw their faces, they were probably a little bit antsy about that, but being able to get the kill on Hal before he picks up his Linken's is absolutely huge. And again, Empire just... What it feels like, Toby, for me, is that they really understand how Vici play. Like, it feels like they prepared for them specifically. They're like, we're going to meet Vici in the finals. How are we going to play this? And so far, the answer has been isolate Ice as much as possible. and punish them for once for their greedy moves. Like, don't let them just kind of have their way with you like they normally play, where they get items, they farm out with impunity and aggression. Punish them at all times.
And they're doing it perfectly. They got to keep it up, however, but as this progresses, the Golden experience is finally really kicking up their way. That Gyrocopter is going to find himself with more immunity as well as damage, as he's rapidly approaching his BKB. VG Gaming is still going to be able to take out the tier 1 tower. There's just the power of really Visage and the damage which can arrive from Super. Even though he's not max sold at the moment, it's still nice. Yeah. But I think the bigger thing is that just the fact that these BKBs for VG Gaming, they're not coming soon enough. And this Lincoln Sphere, I still don't see it protecting Hal after you've seen what Disruptor can do. The only thing I'll protect him from is the Glimpse back. That's the one thing which he will be safe from. Yeah,
and at top, always want to fly. Now gets a hold of the Shikuchi, and he's actually just looking around to see if he can grab him. But it shouldn't matter. Just the combination of those two heroes won't be able to do enough, and they're just kind of invising around each other. And Hao is still farming pretty greedily, but there's no real response from Empire, as they can't really get enough heroes up there for it to matter.
Yeah. And they don't really need to respond. Like, you got Resolution farming up, you're going to look for your next timing. So he's looking towards having his Aghanim Scepter. The BKB is now 650 gold away from Silence, so he'll keep farming that one up. Rubik needs the recipe for the 4-star, so it's still a little bit more expensive for him, but he's going to get there. And you've got one of the big items up as well for Disruptor. You've got a Glimmer Cape now completed for him too.
It's going to be so hard for a lot of VG's Gaming's lineup.
Goodbye, Fenrir. Yoki and Aloha Dancer got his number perfectly. The Urn Charge will kill him off as well. That's why Yoki just blinks in front and looks for the next target. Yeah. They just know they can keep forcing things up against VG.
They know as long as BKBs don't exist right now, they have the upper hand. They just have so much of an advantage in terms of how their items have progressed. You've got a 4K net worth lead on Empire, but more importantly than that, you have momentum, Toby.
Yep. And they just picked up more of it. They just took the Ancients of VG Gaming. 50 gold until the BKB is done.
Oh, and at
Looks
top,
like Aloha, he's actually soloing up the Lion at this
the Glimmer
point.
Cave.
Well, you can just walk right on top of him. It's fine.
Yeah, and you can't actually die during that as well because the magic resistance is so high that the Lion has almost no comeback potential to fight into that.
Oh, man. Missing this one in the mid, but it's going to be Silent, who will eventually go down here. But you've just lost your Shadow Fiend for it. The Rubik was also a casualty of war, so it's a better trade-off for VG Gaming, but still a 2 for 2 overall.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive by Empire, going for that 2-man. They're just going for 2-man rotations right now to see who they can pick off, but I think that was just a little bit too over-aggressive. And the Weaver finally picks up his Lincoln Sphere, so Aloha Dance shouldn't be able to do what he's been doing all game. But something I want to discuss right now that we haven't really talked about is just Ice 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 and the impact that he hasn't been able to have. This is a guy that you would put in the top 2. It's between, I feel, him and Universe as to who the best offlaners are. And how many games have you seen him this shut out? Like, he's got an earn in 2K gold at 21 minutes, and he's 0-5-3.
Yeah. Things are wrong. Well, actually, things are right if you're an Empire fan. They're just moving perfectly. You said it yourself. Like, they've got to shut him down. You play up against VG Gaming strengths. And Ice 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 can't do anything. Like, even when he does have the hook shot, I actually don't remember a time apart from now that middle lane where he hook shotted in, where he's made any form of play which has deterred Empire from their goal.
Yeah, and there was that one at bottom which was really good, but at the same time, yeah, I think it's less about Ice 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 having a bad game. Like, this is a typical offlane game.
Yep.
Oh, and at top.
Wow, Hal. No way out. They throw down the Disruptor ulti. Aloha Dance tries to get himself away. Hal being picked up, thrown back in again. He can time-lapse out, however. They throw down the sentry, but can't pull him back. Ice 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 hook shot off cooldown. He jumps in a resolution, but it's FY, who's in even more trouble. Wants to get the Finger of Death off, which he can do so, but it's so ineffective. You've got Hal and Always Want to Fly bouncing around. Ice Ice Ice, no control, until he steals the cogs, pushing him back with the stun from the Earthshaker as well. That's what cancelled off the TP. And that's going to be 2 quick kills here for Empire online as well as Clockwork. But at least Hal is capable of surviving.
Yeah, and look at Aloha Dance. He's just positioning himself so aggressively. Like, he runs forward because he's trying to catch people with glimpse. And what I wanted to say is that I think it's less about Ice 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 playing poorly. Oh, and at top, the Courier actually gets sniped by Weaver.
He took out the Aghanims of Resolution.
Oh, that shouldn't be too significant, though, because I don't think that it stops the push. But yeah, I think it's less about Ice 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 playing poorly and more just the fact that Empire supports are always on top of him.
Yep. Just no breathing space. No breathing space at all for VG. We already said Empire had that when they had the 1 game advantage coming into this grand final, and with this performance so far in the first game, like official game of the grand final, it's been pretty brutal.
but we should wait it out, Toby.
We
Things
should.
aren't the worst right now. How is starting to get a little bit of farm. He was able to get the kill on the Silence Gyrocopter mid, and at the same time, you finally have your BKB on your Shadow Fiend. And for SF, this is like the most iconic item that you absolutely need to get into team fights.
Yep. Looks like Hal's actually picked up one of the Mithril Hammers too. I'm wondering if he's considering a BKB as well. Oh, they found Aloha Dance running in and around him, and then away. There's no way he wants to try and fight this one. This is, you're right, it is one of these situations where you have to look at VG Gaming's hope. Like, what do they look towards? The SF, defending from high ground, quite easy. In fact, VG Gaming, I don't think any team will ever feel confident pushing up into the high ground against VG Gaming. But when you've got Scarab Beetles, you've got your Razors, you've got your Rockets, you've got potential like Burst Soul Assumption damage and Fingers of Death, and then also buybacks coming out from VG Gaming, it's a very daunting task to come up on the high ground when you don't really have a hero who's great at clearing off buildings. Until Gyrocopter can pick up something like the full Monkey King bar or maybe a little bit more, you won't really have that kind of confidence. So if VG Gaming can wait this out, you get more farm over on Hal. They won't, or they may not have enough control factors unless that Earthshaker initially jumps him. So
Yeah.
if Hal can avoid that initial attack from Team Empire, then you've got a lot of potential for him to do damage during the fights. A good Desolator, maybe with a Crystallis into a Daedalus. There'll be a couple of hits to kill off Aloha Dance, a couple of hits to kill off the Rubik, and it could be looking really good. Obviously, we're looking at this as best case scenario, of course.
I actually still think that Vici are still in this game. If you look at the scoreline, yeah, Empire have taken a large portion of the map and they have a lot of control, but I think that Vici can still win this game on the back of Hao. Hao's got a lot of farm. Weaver is one of those heroes that if you can't crowd control him down for the entirety, what's going to end up happening, Toby, is if they don't kill him in that Disruptor ultimate, or if Earthshaker uses his Fissure and his Enchant Totem and they don't bring him down, then he just goes to town on them. Like, there's not a whole lot after that, especially with that Lincoln's, and if he decides to get a BKB at some point, it's going to be so hard for them to lock him down, and so I think once he picks up those items, then you can really get a good idea of how this game's going to go. But at bottom, they're going to Glimmer Cape in with Aloha Dance and try to get this kill on bottom at Hao.
He's got to get out of here right now. In fact, actually time-lapses. Shikuchi's still available, and he gets out of the wall. That's big. That's actually one of the very few ultimates of Aloha Dance which is missed.
Yeah,
and he remains invis. At the same time, you do have Super, who is waiting for Always Want to Fly. Hits on 2 of the Rays. They force-staff him down in range of Yoki. But with no Scarab Beetles and Super's ulti on cooldown, they just want to keep the distance here. Empire as well as VG.
That definitely could have been executed better. I think Resolution has to wait half a second there and not walk so much forward, because if the Disruptor gets in place, then they have enough time. But right now for Vici Gaming, this gets a little bit tricky once Empire pick up an Aegis of their own.
Well, Clockwork Rocket's going to scout it out, but they're not ready to fight. The Lion can potentially TP in, but he has to come to the tier 2 tower. So right now, Ice. Well, he could YOLO this, but at the same time, Always Want to Fly is moving out to make sure he cannot. And Yoki's waiting for it too, so yeah, they just let it go.
Oh, and
Simon
they
will
actually
take
might
the
catch
Aegis
this as
Immortal.
well. Always Want to Fly.
I've
He's in
actually got
position.
him. Yeah, pick him up, throw him down. The battery assault's going to be there. He can cog up, and they've already used their glimpse. He hook shots away the creep wave. So Ice is out to safety.
Yeah, I think
Did they kill
Aloha.
off the Familiars too? Actually, no, the Familiars got away.
Yeah, I think Aloha Dance messed up there for once in this game. He throws the glimpse right back on top of the same area, and they weren't able to follow up, but still, good move by Ice being able to get out there. And he's just trying to scout for as long as he possibly can, create some time for his team. If you kind of question why he's there, it's just for that purpose, so that Empire don't immediately walk out, TP, and then kill the rest of his team. Like, he's okay with sacrificing himself there.
Yeah. He keeps him back. He also made a bit of a distraction because the Familiars were on top of Roshan.
Exactly.
So they were looking to either deny off the Aegis, take the last hit, or at least just stall up Team Empire as they feel like everything's not as comfortable. And it has had the desired effect. Like Empire, you got one player, like Always Want to Fly, already went back to base. They're moving out as 4 now on the top lane, but instantly, Super's pushing out bottom. You got Hal, who was farming up Ancients. Now he's moved over to the Radiant Jungle. The Desolator is completed. We're 28 minutes in. It's 1,100 gold on him at the moment. But more importantly, he's got more net worth than the Viper. And he's not that far behind the Gyrocopter. This Weaver is becoming a massive problem for Empire. And all the early kills they were getting are not continuing. It's all starting to slow down.
Yeah, and as this kind of 5-man progression, once you go for things like Roshan, yeah, it's great that you have an Aegis, but at the same time, it just creates more time for Hao to be so useful in that one major engagement. And he's got the Desolator as well, and the supports aren't really safe. from that. Even Aloha Dance.
Especially if Yoki ends up having like one of these bugs in him before he can blink in.
Yes.
He'll have to rely on the Force Staff or potentially get caught in the backlines with just the Weaver. And that'll be his death. And also another upside, Hao comes in with his Desolator, and they can actually play the tower trade-off game. So it's tier 2 for tier 2, but you got the negative armor coming in from the Desolator, which allows them to keep up with the rest of Empire, who, remember, are not great at pushing down towers. Silent went for the more defensive nature with the Helm of the Dominator, so it's not the Monkey King bar on him. And now he's actually going to go for a Butterfly as well.
So they're playing aggressively now. Vici is pushing out the bottom lane, trying to force people back because they want to stall this engagement for as long as possible. What you're doing right now, Toby, is you realize that the Aegis is up, and what Empire want to do is get into a 5-on-5 engagement. But if you're Hao, just go, you know, flutter between lane to lane, try to create as much space as you can for super, which is what you're doing right now, and just force people back at all times. And the only way that Empire can trade without getting traded on themselves is they have to kill Hao or super before they go for this, because the amount of time it takes for them to go for these straight up 5v5 engagements is a little bit too long.
I think Hao wants to get rid of this Alpha before he does anything.
Oh,
the
and
Echo
top!
Slam, Hao, he's got time lapse, can't get it off in time. Yoki again. All for the price of an Alpha Wolf.
That was like the least that was like the least worthwhile trade I've
After all the space that was being created, the Alpha Wolf, maybe he's got something up against dogs, man.
Yeah, that was some sick bait. Like, well played, Wolf. Just like you just won Vici game, or you won Empire a game. That was like the most worthwhile Wolf I've ever seen.
Oh, decision making. Resolution actually locked in here with Ice. He's gone for the Ghost Hip, so Resolution can't keep attacking him, and now FY will move him. Starts with a Hex, they can keep this control going. The Familiars will also arrive, and Resolution, well, Mech Charge won't keep him alive here. FY deeper inside the pit. He's not a healthy man, but they're going to be fine, but it's up on top lane, where Empire is now attacking into the tier 3 tower. The Rocket will mop up a lot of the Creep Wave's life, actually not as much as I thought it would, and, well...
Nobody has a TP right now on Vici Gaming.
Not really.
There's actually one on the line, but it's on cooldown, and the Clockwork doesn't have one, and so that's a free tower, and Resolution, I mean, that's absolutely worth it right now to be able to open up the high ground for the next push that's coming up.
They're going to try and fight this. Look for the pickoffs. Clockwork still got his hookshot available, and he jumps up on top of Silent, but the 4-staff up. It was actually getting him away to safety, and now Ice locked inside that Disruptor ulti. The Super with a BKB winding up his own ultimate. Silent's already got his own BKB up, so he's unaffected by this. But Silent and Super man-moding this up. There's no more help, or actually there is from Yoki, and now in from Fenrir. They both end up exploding, while Yoki, the Familiar to bring him down, is a 2-on-2 situation until Silent comes back to the world of living. The Aegis Immortal will help him out, but it's Hao who's the last man standing, so the two primary cores, Familiars to help out. Now he's got bugs in him. The time-lapse allowing Hao to keep battling here, and Silent's losing armor very, very quickly. The Familiar can't catch up to him because the phase boost. Now he also triggers the drum charge. They just keep chasing. Negative 15 armor. That's why the Gemnate attack did so much damage. Now he finally gets rid of the bug, but Hao, he could potentially Shikuchi up, but Resolution's here. Familiar, it doesn't get the drop down. The other one's coming in, but it'll also drop as well. And Hao's a long way behind enemy territories here. He has to get out.
Yeah, and if you're Empire, you're perfectly okay with that trade. Although Hao got quite a lot out of that, so did Silent, and you didn't even have your Viper there, your secondary core. And so if you're Empire, you're satisfied with that trade. You were able to get that top tower out, which will open up the high ground. And that's something that Empire struggled to do because Gyrocopter, he's not the best at sieging towers just because of the short range. And they could just jump on him pre-BKB and blow him up. But now without that tower there, they can filter out, set up fights a little bit better.
Oh, poor Yoki. I think he was considering a jump down on top of Hao. If he forced after Blink Dagger, he would have actually hit that very large Radiant Creep Wave with the Echo Slam and controlled up Hao. I don't know if it would have been enough damage to kill him, but Clockwork, hello hookshot, pushes back always want to fly. FY jumps in with a Glimmer Cape. With a very quick finger, they bring down the Rubik, while Resolution on the run. FY, that movement speed so high, he's actually draining out the mana, so he's got enough for a Hex and potentially a stun. He has the 1 charges as well for that. But they're not going to find it, so it's still a kill on a Rubik nonetheless.
And Resolution opts to go for that Vladimir's offering, actually, which for people that are super confused as to why he did that, I think it's because he's not going to be able to afford something like an AC. They need some armor to be able to fight against Hao. Like, he needs cheap armor to be able to help out his team. And there is the lifesteal bonus for range heroes now, right? It's 10%. which isn't too big, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And so I think he's just looking for cheap alternatives to armor right now, which isn't an Assault Cuirass. And so he's going to grab this Vladimir's offering right now. And I think this is going to mean some sort of death push incoming right now for Empire. Nope. They actually just decide that they're going to send Always Want to Fly back mid.
Yeah, the tier 2 tower's taking too much damage, and Super would have just popped in there, flashed up the creep wave, he'll be gone, and then considerable damage will be done to the tier 2. If not, it being brought down. And what are you going to get in return? Like, you might pop up and take out the range racks on top, but VG Gaming this time should be walking around with, yeah, a bunch of TPs. Actually, Super doesn't have a TP. Okay, yeah, so he already used. He's already come back, so I'll take it back. While on bottom lane, TP's down. Weaver killing off the Rubik. Resolution wants to keep battling here. FY doesn't have a stun available and cannot blink. Mainly because he's still being attacked by all the boys.
Misses his ultimate.
Top lane. Yep, that's where that beacon... He's still able to get the cogs down, which keeps Silent on the high ground. But once again, Super using this ultimate of his without hitting Silent, because he has the BKB protection up. But he's on the run out here, still the Desolator effect, and Hao is right in his tail. The attack with a Gemnade, dropping him so low, 100 down, he has to run north. Ursha gets killed off Clockwork in the meantime, back at the base, but I want to stick with this run for Hao. He's going to chase Silent all the way up into the trees. No more bugs as he turns left, Silent turns left, juking it down a little bit further. Okay, now we'll watch Aloha Dance kill off Fenrir, as the rest of the fight is going to be down there. And Fenrir, well, yep, Aloha Dance, Soul Assumption, Fenrir, he's so low, the Urn Charge is ticking him down, and that's going to be the kill for the Disruptor. Meanwhile, back in Texas, we've got Silent TPing out. How's going to find him? Shikuchi him. The attack is not enough in time. He'll TP all the way back to base and stay alive.
And Aloha Dance in the backline during that entire time manages to kill the Shadow Fiend almost by himself right there. And man, this guy's just going insane. And he actually dodges most of the damage from the nuke or the Visage as well by using the Glimmer Cape. Negates that by half. Aloha Dance. I mean, talk about game-winning performances so far. 9-1-9. And I know the game isn't over, but if there's an MVP I feel for this weekend, it's going to be this guy. Like, he is... You never really talk about him in terms of top 3 supports in the world, but I mean, he's just made a good case for himself with this series.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, most of his highlight games have all been on this one hero, the Disruptor. He's made it. He's made it the support of this LAN final.
Yeah, the Roshan is up again, and this is a pretty critical timing right now for Empire. If they can get this, it's going to force Vici into a really weird situation where they're already having trouble bringing Silent down once. Like, how are you actually going to do it twice?
Well, I think the answer is in the question. How? That's it. Like, all you need to do is get more damage into him. He's got one more slot, or 2 more slots after he gets rid of the Ring of Aquila as well as the TP scroll. Yeah, it was lame, I know. But if he's able to find, like, that Daedalus, then he's looking really good.
Yeah, I think he actually needs an MKB before anything. Like, he's picked up the BKB finally.
He's going up against the monkey.
Yeah,
against the butterfly. You're right.
There's going to be 2 butterflies actually on the way of Empire right now, and so Empire getting the Seg is kind of low, but Vici are in position. They realize they have to fight this one for their lives.
Oh, Hao's running in. He's going to pick up a regeneration rune, so at least got a mana for the fight, but he loses the double damage. Are they really going to try and finish off Roshan before Empire can contest it?
Oh, and
There's
Empire
no
isn't
vision
in position.
inside the pit, so they have no idea. This Aegis and Cheese belongs to VG Gaming, and Ice jumps up. It's more of a cog block right now as Silent on the wrong side of it. The Rocket Barrage still hitting very heavily into Ice. He will eventually drop in. The cooldown doing its work. Super again with his ultimate. Yulset will end up saving Yoki as he blink daggers up onto the high ground. And how? He's going to go down. Never got the cheese off. Super will break the Aegis, and what looked like a fantastic steal is now going to be another horrible fight for VG Gaming after they take out Roshan. Super dying on one side, and you're going to bring back Fenrir to die again to the Disruptor. That's 2 in a row, Blitz. That's 2 in a row. They've taken out Roshan and then paid a horrible price for it.
It's all on Aloha Dance right there because the Weaver waited just a bit too long. The BKB doesn't really matter because Aloha Dance has the Aghanim Scepter, unable to pop the cheese. I mean, him having an Ags right now on top of his Glimmer Cape just completely won them the fight. The ultimate was placed almost perfectly, and even with the Aegis and the cheese advantage, they're nowhere near in fighting condition just because I feel like the Shadow Fiend just doesn't put out enough damage. Silent just man-fights him. The SF ultimate isn't getting any leverage, and Ice just doesn't have really the farm to back up his aggressive moves right now.
And because of that, they're going to get double raxed. And no real way to defend it. There's still a 30-second window here. As far as the buybacks being available, only Weaver has it. And that's not going to help Anthony. The only upside for him is the fact that Tier 2 tower is still alive on bottom lane. which is stopping Empire from finishing the job.
Yeah, and Empire gonna go for this final Rax. They're just taking down this tower so that they have an opening. They don't have the Aegis or anything like that, but in terms of momentum, I mean, they just completely wiped, took 2 full sets of Rax with a tower in middle as well, and so in terms of money, they should be set for a lifetime.
Yeah, they're actually looking very, very sweet. Gyrocopter's now 1,000 gold away from completing up his Monkey King bar. Resolution actually has his full butterfly, but the remainder is back at his stash and 1 part in the courier. So he'll have to go back to base for now. But if they give, like, by the time that courier gets back, Silent will have the 3k to buy the MKB.
Yeah, and they're pushing down this bottom lane right now, and I mean, I don't know how Vici are going to actually defend this because they're just so far behind in terms of actual net worth, and especially after that last fight.
They jump up. There's just done into the finger of death. It's going to go on Silent, but he's still alive and fighting. Ice, Ice, Ice again with these cogs, but Silent's BKB protects him. The Weaver will finally end to disrupt this winning streak and survive through this, and he'll move back over. They're looking for Silent, and this is where the damage can come in. How? The Echo Slam controlling up Super. There is the damage from Yoki to find that kill, but How is still battling up against him, and he's not having to worry about the excess damage coming in from the Gyrocopter. And jump up from FY. He was looking for the stun, lost the mana though with a cog burn. It was stolen by Always Wanna Fly, as he'll run out, in fact, TP his way to safety. Away from How, and Yoki will be just as successful. That's how they defend. No buybacks required, but they got rid of that Gyrocopter.
Yeah, and most importantly, I think, as well, How was able to live through that entire engagement and finally put out his damage that he needed to, because when team fights get really chaotic, Toby, and supports are starting to get isolated out, then it becomes a little bit difficult to lock down that bug because everybody's focusing on something different. Like the Gyrocopter's fighting the Shadow Fiend, and so nobody's on top of the Weaver, and Empire, you know, one of their supports is probably shouting like, hey, I'm dying here, like, you have to help me, but there's just not enough time, and that was the perfect fight for them right there.
How's going to have that Monkey King bar, so the fight's going to get better for him next time. They're going to have that true hit in. He's still 300 gold away. The problem is, when they're fighting up against 2 lanes of Raxes like this, they're not getting as much money out of these creeps as they would really like. But How's still going to find enough to finish the MKB.
Yeah,
but then he'll have to give the gem over to somebody else, but that's fine.
And I don't think he actually waits for a buyback here. I don't think it matters, because if your Shadow Fiend dies on top of that, he comes back with no souls and no farm anyways. It doesn't really matter. The better thing to do if you're How is just buy out, go for this one crucial fight.
Yep.
And if you're Vici Gaming and you hold one more time, first you get momentum. Secondly, How gets even bigger off of that. And you just buy yourself a little bit more time.
Taking a scenic route with the camera. And what is this time going to buy you now? Like, Empire might just wait for Roche, yeah? But that's still a very long time away before he even potentially can respawn.
I don't think they wait for Roshan. I think that they strike again. They just say...
Just force the bottom lane and have confidence in yourself?
I think they played that fight a little bit too sloppy because they were so far ahead. They were like, oh, we're 2 racks up. We're so close to putting Vici in a 2-0 hole. We've got this, but I think that you slow down, you relax a little bit, focus again. Focus on taking down How, and I think just breathe.
Just let the Lotus bloom, man. Let the Lotus bloom. That's going to kill everybody.
And so if he puts that on Silent as well, it's going to get real difficult right now for Vici to be able to burst him down, and I think that's the plan. Put it on him or Resolution. Let them tank up the Lion abilities, and there's a DD rune as well on Silent, and I think this is go time for them.
Yep, they're going to have a crack. A little bit further up. I'm still watching that position of How. He's waiting for the good bug shield, but allows Super just to get rid of the creep wave. They do blow the fortification here. But Empire, they just wait it out.
Yeah, and I think that's okay right now for them to blow the fortification because it's a DD Gyrocopter. Like, you don't want the tower to go down even, and look at the position that How is in right now. He's waiting all the way up in this tree line, waiting for the fight to start, so he's nowhere near the disruptor.
Yep. Doesn't want to get caught out by it at all. So he can play the game he wants to play. Silent. So be careful about how close he gets. How refuses to come in close, but the familiars are also up on the tree line. Surprisingly enough, the Dire don't have any... Okay, now they have vision because the creep wave's pushing in, and this will force some kind of reaction from VG Gaming. The top lane's pushed in a long way, so if they decide to fight up against Empire right now, they'll probably end up losing one of the tier 4 towers. Ice is bringing the creep wave down, so he's still got himself a jump in. Nice BKB from Silent, avoids the fish, the stun from FY. They just jump in, super pops instantly. The cooldown's there, and how? Not enough damage just yet. He's gonna have to time-lapse himself away as he is chasing after a low hard dance. The committal is so high to kill off the support. Now Yoki as well. How's the primary kill here? And he's gonna go down. No buyback available for this Weaver. He's short by 600 gold. Super has already bought back into this, but he's got a homing missile chasing him. They can't get rid of it in time. The familiar drop down will buy him that extra space as they glimmer him up. He does have the cheese available, so he can turn back into this fight if he wants to, and there it is. The BKB's also been triggered, winding up the ultimate, thinking about it. There's the razors, there's number 1, there's number 2, dropping Silent down, the jumping closer, and it's Yoki back into the middle of the fight. That's a double kill for Resolution, and probably, and yes it is most definitely, GG is the call. Empire will take game number 1 and a 2-game lead over VG Gaming here in the grand final.
Man, I'm just stunned right now. Again, it's not the fact that they're winning, it's how they're winning. They're dominant in every single lane. Their rotations are so on point, doubling the kill score of VG Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned it. Aloha Dance. He just everything he did was spot on. That's just all you have to say about that guy. Now, looking at the drafts, Honey actually has been fairly unhappy with what VG drafted. I think you said you felt like it's not really the comfort heroes as it was for Empire in this game.
Yeah, looking back at the draft, I'm not entirely sure of unhappy, but I feel like you were mentioning, the comfort kind of style. I felt like it's completely in comfort zone of Empire what they drafted, but to mention, going into the VG's kind of draft, I felt like the position 4 and 5 were switched around to me. I feel like Fenrir on the line would be potentially the better kind of hero for him, just because he's the kind of person that buys the wars, that plays the true 5 position, and I feel like Visage is not that kind of hero. Visage to me is a clear 4, you want to get an items, you want to progress some items, where a Lion can sit back, even if he doesn't have a dagger, he can still be very useful. And just looking up into the next game, I hope to see a composition of these 2 supports where FY gets a hero that he's comfortable with, that he can progress on items with, that he has a bigger impact.
Yeah, and what I'm really excited for right now is that if you talk about the top teams in the world, your brain immediately flies to VG Gaming and EG. And with this LAN, Empire back-to-back, the LANs they've attended, they would have beaten EG and they would have beaten VG Gaming if they're able to take one more game. And so, yeah, in terms of potential and the TI and stuff like that, you probably still put one of those 2 teams at the top. But for right now, Empire is making such a great case for them to be considered the best team in the world.
Definitely.
Man, it's confidence galore. I can't help but almost want to give Always on a Fly a semi shout out. The only one to not get a kill, but he still had 5 deaths to his name, so he got the quarter milk award. Not the full milk award, just the quarter milk award.
Just a quarter milk award,
but
okay.
The real death factor is actually Ice. 0 for 11 for this game as a clockwork. He got 10 assists, he was there to help out his teammates, but it was just time and time again, he hook shots in and nothing gets achieved because everyone else is getting too controlled. No one, like, his initiation never had a follow-up, really.
I mean, go first.
To me, it's very interesting, just the fact, like you were mentioning, that Empire is making a case for themselves. I was like looking at this game, I felt like Vici has not performed like quite poorly. They did all right. I feel like all the lanes were okay. Sure, they were not winning the lanes, but I still, throughout the game, it felt like they have a shot, right? They were not completely out of it, not at all, but Empire just played a lot better. I just felt like they were dominating throughout the entire series, like throughout this first game.
Okay, I mean, so Hani said that he feels VG needs to get more comfort heroes for themselves to make the plays happening. What do you guys think VG has to change up in the next game to win it?
I want to see more rotation out from VG. I want to see supports, like, I think actually you guys hit the nail on the head. The supports having both Lion as well as the Visage, it didn't really feel like the synergy was properly there, and you need to have that kind of support to make the lanes work. I also want to feel a little bit more confidence in the off lane. Like, the Clockwork just got controlled and controlled again, and I want to see a Disruptor ban. Like, that has to come out at least in the second phase. Still, in the first 2 phases, it can't be done, not with the heroes, which are just, yeah, that they can control too well. But yeah, second phase, take out the Gyro, take out the Disruptor, don't let these heroes through. No matter what they're trying to draft, don't let them have these heroes.
At the same time, though, I mean, they kept picking heroes that work well into Weaver, it feels like. In every single series, in this matchup so far that we've seen this weekend between Empire and Vici, they take the Disruptor, and then Vici ends up picking heroes or cores that are weak against the Disruptor. Like a hero like Weaver, if you're not going to build the BKB first, he actually got a third. The Disruptor absolutely destroys you. Like he gets a Glimmer Cape, he lands his ult on top, you have no time to react, you get blown up, and that happened how many times we saw it in that game alone? It was like 4 times. And the fact that one support and an offlane can kill your core hero, that's just such a value pick for yourself. And so I think that, I mean, if you're Vici Gaming, you should really start to think long and hard about who you're picking, especially against the Disruptor, because you know that Empire are going to go back to it every single time.
I kind of felt like going to that point. I kind of feel the Weaver pick is semi-justified just because I feel that Gyrocopter as well as Vipers are 2 heroes, 2 cores that bring you down slowly. It's like slow and steadily, so you get use of that ultimate. It's not like, I don't know, like a Void, for example, that jumps you, then you chrono it and you're just going to die. It doesn't matter if you have your ultimate or not. You will not get back into that chance of using your ultimate. So I kind of understand the pick, but like you were mentioning, the Disruptor is a good counter to the Weaver.
Yeah.
Well, we will see if the guys from China, VG Gaming, will bring back and maybe tie up the season. It's going to be a best of 5. However, Empire started with a 1-game advantage and are now a 2-0 up in this very series. So it's still everything open, but they really have to bring back the next game and show us what they got. And that's going to happen after a short commercial break.